The engine purred softly beneath me as I navigated the dark, winding roads that cut through the dense forest. Rain cascaded down in sheets, the windshield wipers barely keeping up with the deluge. My knuckles were white against the steering wheel, tension coiling in my gut with every mile I put between myself and civilization. I had taken this shortcut 100 times before, but tonight felt different. The storm seemed to whisper ancient secrets through the trees, and the shadows danced menacingly along the edges of my headlights' reach. A flash of lightning illuminated the road ahead, revealing gnarled branches that seemed to claw at the sky. I glanced at the clock, nearly midnight. My wife had urged me to stay the night at the conference, but I couldn't bear the thought of spending another night in that sterile hotel room. I needed the familiar comfort of home, even if it meant braving this storm. The trees pressed closer, their branches intertwining overhead like skeletal fingers. The GPS signal flickered on my phone, then died completely, leaving me alone in the darkness. Panic bubbled in my chest, but I forced myself to take deep breaths, focusing on the white lines of the road. That's when I saw her, a figure standing at the edge of the forest, barely visible through the rain-splattered glass. My foot instinctively pressed the brake pedal, heart pounding in my ears. She was dressed in a tattered white gown, her long hair plastered to her face in wet strands. I shook my head, convinced it was a trick of the storm. But when I glanced back, she was closer, her form illuminated by another flash of lightning. Her eyes were dark voids, fixed on me with a haunting intensity. I accelerated, heart hammering in my chest. The rational part of my brain screamed that it was just my imagination, that exhaustion and fear were playing tricks on me. But each time I dared to steal a glance in the rearview mirror, she was there, drawing closer with each passing mile. My headlights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and warp in her presence. The radio crackled to life, a static-filled voice whispering words I couldn't quite make out. My pulse raced as I fumbled to turn it off, the voice growing louder and more urgent with each passing second. Then, silence. The only sound was the rain drumming against the roof of the car and the steady hum of the engine. I stole another glance in the mirror. She was gone. Relief flooded through me, muscles relaxing for the first time since I had seen her. But it was short-lived. A deafening crash shattered the night as something slammed into the back of my car, sending it careening off the road. I fought for control, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel as I skidded to a stop in a muddy embankment. My heart raced as I struggled to catch my breath, adrenaline flooding my system. I reached for my phone, fingers trembling as I tried to dial for help. No signal. Panic clawed its way back, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror once more. She stood there, just beyond the reach of my headlights, watching me with those empty eyes. I scrambled out of the car, rain soaking through my clothes as I stumbled up the embankment. Branches clawed at my skin, the forest alive with a cacophony of whispers that seemed to mock my fear. My feet slipped in the mud, heart pounding in my ears as I pushed forward, desperate to escape this nightmare. The trees seemed to close in around me, their twisted forms looming like specters in the darkness. I called out, my voice swallowed by the storm as I searched for any sign of civilization. But all I found were shadows and silence. And her. She was everywhere and nowhere, a phantom that haunted my every step. Each time I thought I had lost her, she appeared ahead, her pale form cutting through the darkness like a specter of death. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs threatened to give out beneath me. Finally, I stumbled into a clearing, a dilapidated cabin nestled among the trees. Hope surged within me as I raced toward it, praying for salvation. The door creaked open at my touch, revealing a darkness that seemed to swallow the feeble light of my phone. I hesitated, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. But the storm raged on, and I had nowhere else to turn. I stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind me with a finality that sent a shiver down my spine. The interior was frozen in time, cobwebs clinging to every surface, the air heavy with dust and decay. I called out once more, the sound echoing unnaturally in the silence. No response. I moved deeper into the cabin, the floorboards groaning beneath my weight. A sense of dread settled over me, a primal instinct warning me that I was not alone. Shadows danced along the walls, shapes twisting and contorting in impossible ways. And then I saw her reflection, a whisper of movement in the dusty mirror hanging on the wall. I turned, heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing there. Just the empty room, filled with a suffocating silence. I should have run then, should have fought through the storm and the darkness to find help. But curiosity mingled with fear, rooting me to the spot as I stared at my own reflection, searching for answers in those haunted eyes. A hand brushed my shoulder, icy fingers sending a jolt of terror through me. I spun around, but there was no one there. Just the empty room, the mirror mocking me with my own panicked expression. And then I saw her, standing behind me in the mirror's reflection, her eyes no longer empty, but filled with a hunger that chilled me to the core. I stumbled backward, tripping over a forgotten chair as she stepped closer, reaching out with hands that shimmered with an otherworldly light. I screamed, a primal sound ripped from the depths of my soul as her cold fingers closed around my wrist. Darkness engulfed me, the world fading into oblivion as her laughter echoed in my ears. They found my car the next morning, abandoned on the side of the road. They never found me or her. Some say I lost my mind in the storm, that I wandered into the woods and met a tragic end. But those who know the truth, who have felt the chill of her touch in the dead of night, they know that she still waits in the shadows, her hunger eternal and her wrath unyielding. Years have passed since that fateful night, but the memory of her icy grip and haunting laughter still haunts me. I've tried to move on, to convince myself that it was just a trick of the mind brought on by exhaustion and fear. But deep down, I know the truth. I encountered something beyond our understanding, something malevolent and ancient. I've spent countless nights researching, scouring obscure texts and whispered legends for any mention of her. The White Lady, they called her. A spirit of vengeance, luring unsuspecting travelers to their doom in the depths of the forest. Every account mirrored my own experience, down to the chilling laughter that echoed in the darkness. Some would call me obsessed, consumed by a need for closure or redemption. Perhaps they're right, but there's a fire burning within me, a determination to unravel the mystery and face my fears head-on. Tonight, armed with newfound knowledge and a heart heavy with dread, I return to that forsaken stretch of road. The rain falls in a familiar torrent, the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against nature's fury. The GPS flickers momentarily before holding steady, a small victory in the face of overwhelming uncertainty. As I round the familiar bends, the forest closes in once more, its ancient secrets lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. I feel her presence before I see her, a chill creeping down my spine like icy fingers tracing my nerves. And there she is, standing at the roadside like a ghostly sentinel. Her gown billows in the wind, a pale specter against the backdrop of shadows and rain. But this time, there's something different in her eyes, a recognition that sends a shiver of dread through me. I stop the car, hands trembling on the wheel as I stare at her through the rain-streaked glass. Part of me screams to drive away, to leave this nightmare behind and never look back. But another part, the part fueled by curiosity and desperation, compels me to confront her, to demand answers to questions that have plagued my restless nights. With hesitant steps, I step out into the rain, my footsteps splashing in puddles as I approach her. The forest seems to hold its breath, the air heavy with anticipation as I meet her gaze. Why? The word escapes my lips as a whisper, lost in the storm's cacophony. But she hears, her lips curling into a semblance of a smile, an expression devoid of warmth or humanity. You called, her voice echoes in my mind, bypassing ears to resonate deep within my soul. You sought understanding, and now you shall have it. The world tilts on its axis as reality warps around us. Trees twist and contort, shadows dance with unnatural glee, and the rain falls in slow-motion droplets. Time itself bends to her will, revealing glimpses of truths hidden from mortal eyes. I see flashes of ancient rituals, of a life extinguished in tragedy, of a pact forged in desperation and regret. Her story intertwines with mine, a tapestry of fear and longing, of vengeance and redemption. I understand now, but understanding brings no solace, only a deeper sense of unease. As the visions fade, the storm rages on, oblivious to the cosmic dance that has unfolded in its midst. The White Lady stands before me, a figure caught between worlds, her form flickering like a dying flame. What now? I ask, voice steady despite the turmoil raging within me. She gestures toward the car, a silent command that I dare not defy. With each step, the world returns to its familiar rhythm, the rain falling in earnest once more. I reach the safety of my vehicle, hands gripping the steering wheel with newfound resolve. As I drive away, leaving the haunting forest behind, I can't shake the feeling of her eyes on my back, a silent promise of consequences yet to unfold. Months pass without incident, the memory of that night fading like a dream upon waking. But just when I think I've escaped her grasp, strange occurrences begin to plague my life. A whisper in the wind, a flicker of movement in the shadows, a cold touch on my shoulder when no one is there. I know she hasn't forgotten. Our fates are intertwined, bound by the secrets of that stormy night and the choices we made. The White Lady waits in the shadows, her presence a constant reminder that some horrors never truly leave us. They simply bide their time until the moment is right to strike again. The whispers grew louder as time passed, a symphony of voices that echoed in the quiet moments of my life. They spoke of promises unkept, of debts unpaid, and of a reckoning that loomed on the horizon. At first, I tried to dismiss them as figments of my imagination, the lingering trauma of that night manifesting in hallucinations. But the signs were undeniable: a chill in the air on a summer's day, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye, objects inexplicably moving on their own. I sought solace in rational explanations, consulting experts and doctors who offered diagnoses ranging from stress-induced psychosis to latent trauma resurfacing. Yet deep down, I knew the truth. The White Lady had marked me, her ethereal touch branding my soul with a curse that defied logic and reason. She was patient, biding her time as I struggled to reclaim a semblance of normalcy. It was during one sleepless night, the moon casting a pallid glow through my bedroom window, that she visited me once more. I awoke to the sensation of icy fingers caressing my cheek, my breath catching in my throat as her spectral form materialized at the foot of my bed. "You seek answers," her voice echoed in the stillness, a melody both haunting and hypnotic. "Yes," I whispered, my voice barely a breath against the weight of her presence. "The pact must be honored," she intoned, her eyes boring into mine with an intensity that threatened to consume me. "What pact?" I dared to ask, though I feared the answer. Her laughter, a sound that chilled me to the bone, filled the room. "The pact forged in blood and regret, sealed in the storm's embrace. You sought understanding, and now you shall serve." Fear and defiance warred within me as I struggled to make sense of her words. "Serve what?" "Balance," she replied cryptically, her form flickering like a candle in a draught. "The scales must be tipped, the debt repaid." I wanted to scream, to demand clarity and release from this nightmare. But her gaze held me captive, weaving threads of fate that bound me tighter with each passing moment. "The forest calls," she whispered, a breeze stirring the curtains as if to emphasize her words. "Find the heart of the storm, and all shall be revealed." And then she was gone, leaving me alone in the darkness with a newfound sense of purpose and dread. The following days blurred into a haze of research and preparation. I delved into obscure folklore and ancient myths, piecing together fragments of knowledge that hinted at a greater truth hidden within the heart of the forest. Armed with determination and a sense of resignation, I returned to that cursed stretch of road, the scene of my first encounter with the White Lady. The trees whispered secrets as I ventured deeper into their embrace, the air heavy with the scent of impending rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a warning echoed by the gathering clouds overhead. I pressed on, following an instinct born of desperation and fate. The forest seemed to guide me, each step bringing me closer to a destination I couldn't name. And then I found it, a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow, the air charged with electricity. In the center stood a gnarled tree, its roots digging deep into the earth like ancient veins. Symbols etched into the bark pulsed with a faint light, drawing me closer with a pull that transcended mere curiosity. As I reached out to touch the tree, a flash of lightning split the sky, illuminating the clearing with blinding brilliance. Visions assaulted my mind. A ritual long forgotten, a sacrifice offered in desperation, a bargain struck with forces beyond mortal comprehension. The storm intensified, rain lashing against my skin as if urging me to complete the circle of fate. With trembling hands, I traced the symbols on the tree, each stroke unlocking memories buried deep within my subconscious. The White Lady appeared before me, her form shifting between ethereal and corporeal, a guardian of secrets and harbinger of truths. "The pact is fulfilled," she intoned, her voice a whisper carried on the wind. "What does it mean?" I demanded, my voice raw with emotion. "Balance restored," she replied, a sad smile touching her lips. "The debt repaid." And then she was gone, leaving me alone in the storm-ravaged clearing. The rain eased, the thunder fading into the distance as dawn painted the sky with hues of amber and gold. I stood there, a weight lifting from my shoulders as understanding dawned like a new day. The whispers ceased, replaced by a tranquility I hadn't known since that fateful night. The White Lady had exacted her toll, but in doing so, she had restored equilibrium to a world teetering on the edge of chaos. As I made my way back to civilization, a sense of closure settled within me. A chapter closed, a journey ended. The forest watched in silent reverence, its secrets preserved for those willing to listen. And though I carry the memory of that haunting night with me, I no longer fear the darkness or the specters it harbors. Sometimes, redemption comes in the most unexpected forms, and the greatest horrors pave the way for the deepest truths.